Welcome back to another episode of Dentside Depot. Today I'm going to show you how to replace your high boy or low boy old, crusty, corroded, bent, and broken front frame brackets with vintage truck and 4x4 brand new brackets just available on the market today that can make your truck way better than it was from the factory. So sit back and relax, and I'm going to show you the install and all of the parts that are available. Okay, so the parts that we're going to be looking at today is the triangle shaped support bracket in the back that goes to the leaf spring hangers, the hangers themselves for the leaf springs, and then in the front hanger where it actually holds the front of the leaf spring at the bottom. So here's the parts that we have. The front hanger, the rear hanger support beam, and then the actual hangers for the rear. So let's look at each part one by one. First of all, looking at the front hanger, here is the factory piece. Now, these pieces wear out over time, and they were, generally speaking, they would get rusty, and they could even potentially break. And to prove that, I'm actually going to cut here really quick, and I'm going to show you one on a truck that did break. Okay, so this is a front hanger actually on my nicest truck with the nicest frame, and you can see right here it is split right down the middle. And that is something that could happen on any single truck. So let's go back inside and see what the replacement one does to fix that. Okay, so looking at vintage truck and 4x4's part, you can see that it is significantly beefier in that front portion, therefore fixing that common factory issue. You can also see the gusset portion in the middle is significantly bigger, another weak area of those frame brackets. And then lastly, something that I really love about this bracket is this right here. There's actually a left and a right. And there is a small little plate that is added to the inside portion of the bracket to give it the exact spacing in this position of the width of the frame and not changing the width for the spring pad in the middle, because they are actually different. The factory bracket, it would actually squeeze and twist because the two inside dimensions are actually different for both. This bracket actually fixes that, which is pretty awesome. You can see these are beautifully welded. These particular pieces are MIG together, and you can see the thickness of the steel is slightly bigger than what a factory bracket would be. So this is obviously an amazing part right here, and it is American made, of course. Here's what you're gonna get in that kit. You're going to get two frame brackets, and this is available for low boys and high boys, and each one is a different part. Okay, you get the two brackets, and you get all the hardware that you need to install the bracket. I'm going to show you how to do this here. And you also get the front leaf spring bolts with locking nuts and washers. So here's another thing to consider. If you're putting a lift kit on your truck, you are going to struggle getting this bottom leaf spring bolt out. It is a huge pain. I've had some of them take me 45 minutes, and I've literally had to burn the entire bushing away to get them out. So if you're doing a lift, just get this kit at the same time. It's going to save you a ton of hassle, and you're going to have a much stronger truck. For our Cummins swap project, there's no doubt I needed this part. Okay, that's the front leaf spring hanger, and again, different product for low boy and high boy. I was showing you the low boy product in that case. Next up, we have the rear hanger bracket. This is the factory one right here. Now, the factory one doesn't necessarily have any design flaws with it. The problem with this bracket is the bushing itself is not really serviceable unless you find an NOS part. The new product from Vintage Truck and 4x4 fixes that problem by using a serviceable part. You will get the rubber bushing and the sleeve with the kit, and you can always replace it with an energy suspension one later on down the road, as it's a common size. So what I'm talking about is these bushings right here, and you have an easily serviceable part. Here's the other advantage of this part. You can see it has 4 strong TIG welded gussets, where the factory one only has 3, and of course it's forged. You're also getting brand new metal. You can powder coat it, paint it, whatever you want to do. But you can see that is obviously a superior part to the factory one. What are you going to get in the kit? You're going to get the 2 hangers. You're going to get a full set of bushings with the sleeve, and you're going to get all grade 8 hardware with locking nuts to install it. Pretty much a no-brainer if you ask me, if you're doing any sort of restoration or even a lift kit. These 3 factory rivets, they pop right out. Pretty easy to service and remove that part. Okay, and that brings us to the third part that we're looking at today, and that is the actual leaf spring hangers for the rear position. This is the hanger that came off of our 12-valve Cummins project. It was a plow truck and it did have a Dana 60, so it saw some significant action, but you can see it is no longer straight. It is bent, and this is one of the nicer ones that came off the truck. It actually might have been the nicest one that came off the truck. It's not even close to being square. Well, the new parts. You're gonna get 4 hangers, okay, all cut on a water jet. It's gonna be brand new metal. They're gonna match your factory part exactly. You can get them painted, powder coated, whatever you wanna do, and you have brand new hangers that you know are square, true, and straight. What you're also going to get is a full set of hardware for the leaf springs, and that's going to be the top and the bottom bolts, and you're going to get the nice locking nuts. So again, what I would say is, if you're doing a lift kit, whether it's a rough country, a skyjacker, or whatever it may be, you might as well get all of these when you're doing the lift kit. It's going to save you time, and your truck is going to be better when it's all done. You're going to have all grade 8 stuff, and every single bracket is stronger. So I honestly would not risk it by using the old weaker factory brackets. You might as well update to the newer ones and save yourself a whole lot of headache, because getting those bolts out is a huge pain. Okay, here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to scuff these with a scuff pad. I'm going to prime them, and I'm going to paint them with Summit chassis paint, and then we're going to go over the install process for all of these, and that'll be the rest of this video. Okay, we're going to start with the front brackets first. All we need to do here is we have 4 bolt holes that we're going to have to ream out with a 9/16 bit, like so. You can see that was not very much. Okay. Okay, the next step is going to be to install the hanger, obviously. And they are marked left and right. They are punched on the bottom, on the gusset plate. But you want the inside to be where there is the additional spacer plate added to the actual bracket. That is going to be the correct orientation for the bracket, with the flat plate facing forward, just like it would factory. You're going to want your bolts going from the inside of the frame to the outside, and it is very snug. And you want it to be snug because you don't want the bracket obviously being able to move around. You want it to be all the way up on the bottom of the frame, that bottom gusset, and you want it to fit in nice and snugly, and this is very snug. I might have to ream this one out a little bit more. We'll see. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ream this one right here just a little bit more because it's still fitting a little bit too snug now with the bolts in on the other side. Okay. Now we're doing washer and lock nut. And the reason you want the bolts facing out, or the nuts facing out, I should say, is because there's no way you're gonna be able to torque them to whatever spec you decide to torque them to if they're on the inside of the frame. There's no way to get into that. All right, so I have 3, and I'm using all the hardware that came in the supply baggie with the kit. Now, next thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to make a decision on something. And it's up to you what you wanna do. For the low boys, there is this hole right here. And from the factory, there was a bolt that went in there. And it was this bolt right here, and you can see mine is, you can see the shank of the bolt is done. It's toast. There's nothing left of it. It's trash. So here's what I'm gonna try. And this particular bolt is not included in the kit, but you know, quick trip to Home Depot and you got it. I'm gonna try 7/16 by 1 3/4. I'm going to use a washer on top, like so, and I'm going to use a frame nut on the bottom. Okay, so that's all I've done, and you could probably go, I think 1.5 would be plenty to get that in. So all of this is in loosely now. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up, and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so the front bracket is on and bolted down, and you can see the hardware is a significant improvement over the factory design. There is no way this bracket is going anywhere at this point. Significant strength increase in the front due to our aftermarket bracket that is way beefier and way better overall. So now we're going to go to the back and install the rear piece. Okay, so now we're onto the rear position and we're using our rear piece. I've pressed in the bushings and the sleeve. They went in very easily. It's not an issue. And I also drilled out the holes with the 7/16 bit because we are upgrading the hardware for this particular piece. And you can see it's a fine thread 7/16 bolt, so it just goes in the back like so. And you can see that goes in very nicely. And again, we're using the hardware that is supplied in the baggie with the kit, and it comes with the locking nuts yet again. So I'm going to get these in the rest of the way, tighten them down, and then we will take a look at the hanger and how that's going to work for that particular piece. Okay, so here's the rear hangers. Again, I just hit them with Rust-Oleum paint, nothing too crazy. So now we're going back into our hardware bagging, and we have 4 bolts with the nuts and the washers. And we are going to install our hangers for this particular side. Okay, take it through. That's it. It's really not rocket science. Not difficult whatsoever. Other side on, washer, locking nut. And this side I'm just going to hand tighten and leave it loose. Okay, so there you go. You can see all the parts are now installed. Installing those 3 parts has taken me less time than what it would take sometimes just to get the front leaf spring bolt out because they are so bad very often. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to install a Skyjacker 724 spring, 724S, so you can see what it looks like installed, and then we'll wrap up for today. Okay, and there you go. That's with the spring installed. And I can tell you that is by far the easiest time I've ever had installing a spring. So you think about it, the hassle that you're gonna have of using the old brackets, the amount of labor that you're gonna spend getting these bolts out, cleaning up the brackets, getting them ready to put back on. You're gonna spend all that time and you're gonna have a weaker truck when you could buy these brackets and this kit, put it on with your new lift kit or with your old springs or whatever you may be doing, and you will have a better truck in the end. So I am highly recommending these parts to everyone. There are different parts for the low boys and the high boys. The link for all of these parts are in the description. Please make sure that you order the correct parts for your particular truck. Also remember that 1977 was a split year. If you have any questions, you can reach out on the eBay link page. I hope you enjoy this episode of Dentside Depot, and we will see you in the next episode.